Hello and welcome to my first video on using GitHub in the classroom. For my first video I thought I'd give you a very quick tour of how GitHub works and how perhaps it could be used. So if we just start off the web address github.com, and here I'm just signed into my profile. So GitHub is a platform for collaborative coding and sharing of resources. So just to demonstrate this, if I go around my profile here, we can see a few things. So first of all, we've got my profile picture and stuff. We've got some repositories that I own or I'm contributing to. We've got some organisations down here that I'm part of. And we've got here with this graph which shows my contribution history. So you can see that I started using last July. Big empty space here, and quite recently I've been quite busy on GitHub. So let's have a look at some repositories. So if I just click on my repositories here, now what we can see here is this list of what are called repositories. Now a repository is a folder structure or set of files that are for a particular project. So one of the first things I put up here was this, the Holocaust Memorial. So on my blog there's some details of the Holocaust Memorial, which was basically a set of 6 buttons which played 6 different music tracks composed by kids. Now the great thing about GitHub is that if you click on a piece of code, it's really clearly laid out. It's not like email where you have to sort of detach the file from your email and copy it into Python. This has all got the syntax formatting in it. We can't run it, but it's really clearly well laid out. Okay. If we go back to Holocaust Memorial, the other files in there, things that aren't text or program files, they're not really sort of editable in the same way. These have been uploaded in a slightly different manner. But so the main purpose of this is for editing text and also for editing code. It uses for text files. It uses a language called Markdown, but there'll be more of that in a future video. So you can see here, up here, I've got there's some statistics about my repository here. So I've got 2 commits. So basically, you can see here that on June the 18th, 2013, I uploaded the code, and then on the same day, I uploaded a second version of the code. I'm not entirely sure what I changed on here. Oh, I made a couple little changes. So I changed the comment and I've deleted a few lines. But this is the really powerful thing of GitHub. Whenever I view a piece of code, it highlights changes that have been made. These 2, the green, I can see that I've added 2 lines of code in. Where it's red, it means I've deleted a line. So I can clearly see what's been changed about the code. And then if I want, I can just click view and it will show me the latest version of that code. So it's really good with pupils to be able to see the progression that they're making through developing a program. Anyway, let's have a look at some other examples of repositories. If I go back to my page here, so other repositories. So this one here, this one I own. It's got this little picture of a book. I made that one, and I made this one, and I made this one. Not that there's much there. These ones have all been pulled or copied from other people. So this symbol represents a fork in the road, and forking is a key principle of GitHub. So all of these things, basically, I've nicked from elsewhere. So Coda, this one here, this one came from Raspberry Pi Learning. Okay, so if I go on to Coda, and this one is in this one is my copy, but it was forked from this one. And if I want, I can see the original. And so now I'm on the original one here, owned by Raspberry Pi Learning. So let's just go and sort of dig around here a little bit. You can see here there's been many, many more commits than in my initial repository. So if I click on that, I can see that I've actually contributed quite recently. I think it was a spelling mistake, nothing significant. But then we can see here we've got corrections and changes by a whole range of people. And if we go back, we can get all the way back and we'll find eventually when this was first authored. But what's quite nice again about GitHub is that it's collaborative. People can contribute together on it. So let's just sort of explain how that process works. So I've gone to Raspberry Pi Learning, and let's pick one I've not looked at. Right, Cress eggheads. Okay, so here's a repository on Cress eggheads, and it's a fairly simple repository. We've got Here's a picture of some eggheads. Here's the lesson objectives, outcome, time, requirements, and so on. Okay? I mean, this is basically a web page, and there's not much more to it than that. You've got some pictures in there, and you've got your pages. If I wanted to make a copy of that, I would click on fork. Now, because I've got a few different things going on, do I want to fork it to the school, to me, or elsewhere? So I'm going to fork it to me. And what that's just done is it's just copied that, so now this is my copy of the repository. And what I can do is I can then start making changes. So let's, for example, let's go to README, and let's say that I don't know, let's say that I've tried this with my kids and I think actually it's going to take more than that. I'm going to click edit. I'm going to go down to the bit where Ben has said an hour to wrap up. Oh no, I don't agree. I think actually it's more like 2 hours. Okay, so I'm going to make that change. I can preview that change if I want to, so I can see that in here is the bit that I've crossed out, and there's the bit that has been added. Okay. If I go then and I go down to the bottom, I can save it, or in GitHub lingo, I can commit it. So down here, and usually with a commit, we put a comment. So I'm just going to put dummy change for video. I'm just going to put in here a change I made for demo purposes. Okay, and I'm going to commit that change. Now that change that I've made only exists in my copy of the repository. If I go back to Raspberry Pi Learning, you can still see it says 1 hour to wrap up. Back in mine, it says 2 hours to wrap up. Now if I really think that Raspberry Pi need to know this, and they will need to adapt this, and it might be that I've included some extra resources or changed the nature of the task, then I can go to this icon here and do pull requests. And I can create a new pull request, and that will summarize the changes I've made. Okay, and I can create a pull request, and I can just put in here, Ben, please disregard as this is for demo. And what will happen is if I then click on create pull request, that will go off to Ben. He will see that on his Raspberry Pi Learning Cressheads repository, and he will have it appear here in his pull requests. So here it is, here's my request, and if he's happy, he will approve it, and it will get automatically merged into his code. And if he's not happy, he will close it and say, no, go away, that's a stupid correction. But Ben wouldn't do that, he's much more polite. So there we go. That's kind of how collaboration works on GitHub. So just to recap, we've got users and repositories. Repositories can be forked so that other people can copy your code. If you own a fork of a repository, then you can pull that back to the main branch, and if they're happy, they can approve it, and if they're not, they can not. So there we go. In my next video, I'm going to have a look at creating organizations and collaborating with other users in a bit more detail.